Good morning, and welcome back to another week where we talk about the fascinating world of New York City real estate and the people behind all of it. I would like to welcome my listeners and viewers in the United States and all around the world. I am Vince Rocco. It is Tuesday morning in New York City, so let's go behind the headlines and get the real story. This is Talking New York Real Estate. And up front this morning, the role of the New York City real estate agent has experienced a notable shift in recent years, propelled by technological advancements, changing market dynamics, and evolving customer expectations. So traditionally seen as agents facilitating sales or rental transactions, the modern New York City agent now represents multifaceted roles. They become adept at leveraging technology, employing digital marketing strategies, and harnessing data to effectively reach and engage with clients in an increasingly digital landscape. Ultimately, the contemporary New York City real estate agent serves as not only a transaction facilitator, but also a trusted advisor, offering expertise, insight, and support throughout the entire property journey. And believe me, it's a journey. We will have all that and so much more as Talking New York Real Estate gets underway on this Tuesday morning. And in the news this morning, there is a running joke among New Yorkers that having an in-unit laundry means you've made it. And according to an agent who was recently quoted, said, "At this point, in-unit washer and dryers are an absolute must for a New York City apartment to be considered part of the luxury market. People are eager for any opportunity to avoid a trip to the laundromat, or in my case, the basement. Even if it means sacrificing closet space to accommodate a washer and dryer, it is a trade-off that many are willing to make," she added. So, what are the other big things wanted in New York City real estate apartments? Here is what is hot right now. Original details, concierge or hotel services, hotel services, outdoor space, work from home space, pet friendly, and lots of windows. And New York City has been known for its largely out of reach housing prices, but perhaps 2024 will bring locals a bit of luck. According to a new study from StreetEasy, there are pockets across the city where buyers these days have significant bargaining power, and some of them include neighborhoods that have long been considered pricey. These areas, spanning all price points, display three key attributes: substantial upticks in the length of time on the market, frequent price reductions, and significant differences between initial asking prices and eventual selling prices. That said, Greenwich Village, long known for its high-priced homes, takes the crown at the top of at top place in town for buyers. Sure, this neighborhood has a sky-high median asking price of $1.9 million, but homes here lingered on the market for a median of 125 days. In turn, 12.3% of listings there showed lowering prices, and it made it the neighborhood with the most discounts. With me today are Jared Antin, Managing Director of Elegant Forbes Global Properties, and superstar agents Louise Phillips Forbes, Brown Harris Stevens, Daniel Blatman, the agency, and Anna Kahn from Brown Harris Stevens.
This beautiful set here at Studio 1873 is brought to you by the Everset. The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. We're going to talk today about how the role of the real estate agent over the years has changed. Several of us here at the table have been in the business for a very long time, so we can kind of talk from experience what has changed. Also, we're going to bring in a little bit also about how brokerages have had to change to keep up with all of the agent changes, and we'll get into it. But Jared, let me start with you. So technological advancements, changing market dynamics, evolving customer expectations, all of these things, always, some of it existed, a lot of it didn't, but digital marketing strategies to engage with clients in an increasing social media way, in a digital way. Tell us a little bit about how all of this has really kind of taken over the agent's role in our current space today in New York City real estate.
Thanks, Vince. Happy to be here with everyone. When I look back at this, now I've been in the business 15 years, so I'm going to use some stories from when I was growing up and my parents were house hunting. But I talk about, real estate agents have changed from being the gatekeepers of information to that of really being advisors. I believe that the salesperson title that the Department of State mandates us is ill-fitting for what we do because we're really advisors. Right now, we went from where there was no true MLS, and you used to show up to an office and get the binder of listings, and if you didn't like what that firm had, you walked down the street to the next office and repeated the process, to now where there's arguably too much information out there, right? We had the Zillow world where all the listings were out there on the rise of buy-side agencies, but now consumers have too much information. So our job has gone from, the gatekeepers to just presenting information and opening the proverbial door to now actually being able to distill the information to help you make sense of what that sea of knowledge is and break it down to say, look, this is what's most important. These are the pitfalls that are going to occur. And everything happening is all about increasing that transparency and distilling.
Mm.
If I remember correctly, and I go back 22 years, I mean, what you just said is 1,000% correct. But a lot of people who have been in the business for a long time, and maybe Louise can confer, actually, Anna, the same. I sometimes think that if we go back to how we started, it might be better, or it was a little easier, or it made a lot more sense. I mean, everything you just said is correct. We are now more advisors than anything else. But, I mean, I kind of remember when things were a little easier in the past. For whatever reason, yeah, there was a lot of manual stuff. There was a lot of traveling around. I remember running into the Upper West Side office and getting on my phone because I didn't want to use the pay phone for whatever reason or go and do a quick search while my client waited for me in the lobby so we can see one more unit. Louise, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think that the digitization sort of transformation that we've experienced has made things, I think, certainly more efficient. And I think also social media has taken, people who have strength in other areas to give them their own presence and voice. If you didn't, I mean, I started in the business and interest rates were 12.4%, and I was a dancer, so I had no Rolodex. And if anybody doesn't know what a Rolodex is, it's where you keep these cards with your contacts.
Manual
Like
files.
a Palm Pilot.
Yeah, there you go.
But they had really cool colors, so
Color-coded, that's right.
I'm terribly dyslexic, so I am tactile. I write everything down. I have little index cards for everything. I started in the business with the idea that I wasn't a salesperson, that I was an educator, and that being of service was what was going to be how to differentiate myself. So what I miss the most is the nonverbal. When you think about what younger agents, and anybody's younger than me, but they want to negotiate by text, and the inflection and the camaraderie that is built by partnering and being generous with your knowledge is missing in this technology. So I think it's important for people like you, myself, is that when I'm leading my team, this is no. As per our conversation is how you make your offers, because you have it on the phone. So I love the efficiency of technology, but I don't want to lose what builds the relationship, which is the time in.
You hit the nail on the head, because it's one of the biggest. And look, I've adopted to all of the greatest technologies that we've had in the last 15 years, 10, 15 years, whatever, social media, all over it, because it does help, it is important, etc. But I also do miss that intimate, conversation, that intimate relationship between our co-brokers or even our clients sometimes, because that is missing. For example, one of the things that bugs me is when I get a text from a broker wanting to put an offer in on an apartment. My hair stands up higher than it is already, okay? I cannot deal with that.
And just to piggyback on that.
Who are you? Right?
One of the things I always tell the agents is before you submit any offer in writing, which you should do because you want that record, pick up the phone and set the expectation, especially if you're submitting an offer, that is lower than you have advocated for your buyer to do. Pick up the phone and have that human connection. And the thing that agents forget is, of course, you and the other agent are representing adverse parties, right? But at the end of the day, both of your respective parties want the same thing, which is to get a deal done. So agents, we talked about scowl, and having that negative attitude. You have to approach your other agent as your counterpart, as your colleague, as your friend, as your partner, because although you're representing adverse interests, they both want the same thing, which is so important.
And the important part of understanding what the needs are of the other side doesn't mean you're aligning to it. It means that you're arming yourself with the knowledge how to coach and advise.
Correct.
And that is
Simple
that's the
things-
different.
Simple things like, is your client qualified? You're not going to figure that out in a text message,
Right.
You're going to figure that out by having a conversation. Hopefully, you're going to figure that out by getting a financial statement on them and a pre-approval from a bank on them in the email. That's the official offer. I mean, how do you know in a text message or just kind of flying by the seat of your pants? Well, I'm putting an offer in. Oh, by the way, it's at asking price. So what?
Like that's
Who
the holy
cares?
grail.
Well, right. Daniel, comments on how we've come so far, but yet there are some pockets where I think we could go back and do it a little better.
You know, I got into real estate 10 years ago, and when, maybe 11, I can't count. So when I joined, we already had Street Easy. There already was everything, so it was kind of in that bridge
Hate them.
of the two times. Don't we all? But yet, almost also a very necessary partner in weird ways. The difference in our market when, like, we can call it before Street Easy and after Street Easy, is that nobody became location specific anymore. So now our job is to understand every market and understand where are people moving, where are they, what is the energy of a specific neighborhood, because the neighborhoods have changed. Thanks to technology, we have Wi-Fi in all the subways. And when I got into real estate, you had to wait upstairs on the street to finish whatever phone call or text message or email you were doing from your iPhone that you recently got, because it was only, at that point, 4 years old. So when you're trying to finish all of that communication, then you're going to run downstairs. Hopefully you catch the train and you didn't have Wi-Fi for another 20 to 30 minutes, or no cell service, no text. So I think that immediacy, actually, and getting Wi-Fi in the subways has now made everybody super lazy. So you don't have to be on time anymore. You don't have to get to the office early, which is really affecting the younger generation because they're not in listening.
They don't even want to be in.
They don't want to be in, but you learn so much in just that communication from the other brokers. Like I remember we had a boiler room when I was at Platinum Properties and Nest Seekers. Everybody was in the office. You could hear what their prospecting was to for sale by owners. You could hear what their negotiation was with buyers and with sellers. You only got one side of it, but you would pick up so much because there was nowhere to hide. There was nowhere to do anything, and you would just learn. And then when it comes to us as agents, I mean, I work tirelessly because my first deal was on Central Park West and 64th Street. We had to find a buyer for that property as a downtown buyer because it was amazing, but it was modern and renovated in a way that the pre-war Central Park West owners wouldn't really love. And
That's quite a building.
They didn't. Yeah, so we found a buyer that was an empty nester that was coming up. Their daughter was at Juilliard all the time. They wanted to walk to the park, and they had a place upstate. But we were early on the social media marketing to target the downtown marketplace to bring them up top. But then that buyer looked in Harlem, or that seller, we were buying something else. They looked in Harlem, Chelsea, Tribeca. I sold them a townhouse in Park Slope. So when you start to understand the human and the neighborhood and how to match them, you can start to figure out how are you going to be able to sell better and how are you going to be able to help buyers buy something better that will actually help them build their life in this crazy intense city.
So well said. And we've all had experiences where buyers start out in location A and end up in location B or C because, our expertise hopefully gets them to where they really want to be. Anna Kahn and I worked together at the old Halstead office in the very beginning, and we can go way back to the close-knit group on Diva Lane that we used to call ourselves.
Diva Lane.
But the reason I bring that up
Which you
is...
coined.
Which I
I don't know that street.
We have the sign. It's a street sign, by the way.
We have the street sign. But anyway, at the end of the lane. But anyway, the reason I bring that up is because we were a close-knit group, similar to what you guys are talking about, right? When we had a question, we conferred with each other. When we didn't understand something, we talked about it with each other. If I was looking at a financial statement, on a board package, and I had a question, we would talk with each other. I don't see that happening today. When I'm in my office today, it's so disjointed. It's people are hardly ever in, but when they are, it's kind of rushing in, rushing out, running all over the place. Anna, reminisce with me about how wonderful, the old approach was. Before, you were talking before the show about, the revolving, as we call it, computer terminal that we used, taking turns. That was shared.
Lazy
taking
Susie.
turns.
Computer
to
on
find
a lazy
information,
Susie.
right?
And
That is
on
awesome.
DOS.
Yeah.
On that note, the brokers that were in the office, and we talk about changing technology, the brokers had been in the office for a while. They were still using index cards.
Oh my God, yeah.
So now to talk about AI and all the changes that are happening, change is always scary and change is inevitable. And this business has been changing since day one. And the relationships between brokers, I would say most importantly, of course, with the clients and communicating. But there's a saying, brokers are forever, clients can come and go. And to this day, with all the technology, everything you can find, whether it's in StreetEasy or resource database, I still call, and I know Weezy and I talk, she calls me. We have a listing in a building, we know a building well. I still go to the brokers to get the information because that information is not anywhere other than in the brokers' heads. And the clients, with all the technology in the world, they can never get that information without us.
And that, and that is an unfortunate, that generosity of knowledge, is so valuable. I've told you this before. I've probably brought 80 people into the world of real estate, whether they came to work for me or it was like, I want to make a change. And that connectivity and that cup of coffee, as busy as I am, has always been that idea of being of service. And you know what? I can't tell you how many times I'm on the other side of the table in the negotiations when that broker that I supported will say, Weeze, I got 5 offers and just come in at this level or above. And we've gotten the deals done. So, and I think that is just something that is short-sighted and technology can never take and replace.
But as Jared said before, I mean, this is why, in the new world, we are more advisory to our clients than transactional. I mean, when you're dealing with a transactional agent, it gets to be out of control. Yep. So advisory is the way to go. But I was an early adopter of technology, but I still will say I held on to my Palm Pilot and I held on to my BlackBerry for as long as I could possibly hold on to it before we got to the iPhone, as Daniel referenced before. Now, of course, I don't even know where it is, but I can't live without it. You wanted to say something?
I was just going to echo that, back to the advisory piece and what was just articulated. It's the reason to work with a good buyer's agent that knows that information, because if you're working on your own as a buyer without that agent, you're never going to get that inside information. So working with the right buyer's agent, I know that there's a lot going on in the world of real estate about the value of a buyer's agent, but it boils down to how do you set yourself up? How do you position yourself and your offer properly for the seller at hand and for the building at hand? So that's really, really important, and something that is changing now in everything going on with the commission suits and the rise to increased transparency with how do we articulate that value add and how do we help buyers understand how that competitive advantage can come back to help them.
Totally agree. All right, so let's talk about some of the key factors that are driving the specialization that we need to have. Whether you're a buyer's agent or a seller's agent, a listing agent, why is that so important, Daniel? That we've grown from, I hate to use the word transactional, but maybe in some cases, but the way we used to do things to now becoming advisors. And what is it that we really need to know to become a better listing agent and a better buyer's agent? Listening to our clients always is number one, but what else is out there?
I think it's really educating yourself on what you're doing, what the market is, and the unique aspects of that property. So I always tell people, and I didn't realize that this was a trend, is that ultimately as New York City real estate professionals, we are like pro football players. And your one conversation, every text message, every phone call, every listing that you send is whether you get to play that day, whether you get hired, whether you get fired, or whether you are now put on notice and you get micromanaged for the rest of your time working with that one client. We have the luxury of working with some of the smartest minds in the world in New York City. And that's what drives us all to be here. This is why New York City is never going to die, because if you understand how to live here and this city creates that urgency to be here, you cannot exist anywhere else. So as a real estate agent, our job, especially as a buyer, because I do right now about 70% of my business is buyers. And I focus very hard to understand what their needs are, what the property is, what their lifestyle is, because you can't create a larger kitchen. You can't create a larger bathroom. And most arguments happen in a kitchen.
Some people want you to create that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But most arguments happen in a kitchen and a bathroom because these are your main cross sections. So how do you live? Is your toilet by the door? Is that going to drive you crazy? So it's these little tiny nuances.
I want counter space in the kitchen.
If you want
That's what I want.
right.
Okay.
But not everybody
Washer,
has
dryer,
that.
maybe?
Washer, dryer. When you open up the dishwasher, do you now hit the oven?
Right.
So, and if you have two people working in that kitchen, then you're going to start an argument, or you're going to want to sell because you're going to feel like this 2,000 square foot apartment is not big enough because your kitchen appliances are just put in the wrong places. However, if it's renovated, you can't pay a renovated price knowing that you're going to need to renovate that kitchen based off of your lifestyle. So we can leverage technology to really understand all of these aspects of the apartment and of our client's lifestyle to then see how can we advise them to remove buyer's remorse and understand them. But to really specialize as a, say, buyer's agent, you need to actually take the time to understand those things. And then I would say as a seller's agent, it's really understanding how to leverage technology and marketing in a very different way because you can.
All right, listen, we have to take a break. We'll come back, short break, right after these messages. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business, and it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
Okay, everybody, we are back. Daniel, I just wanted to pick up on, a comment you made before. We're working with the smartest minds in this town, in this city. Are you referring to agents? Are you referring to people who live here? Are you referring to all of the above?
I'm really referring to all of the above.
Okay.
And
I mean, I agree with you,
yeah,
but explain it for our listeners.
the people that want to come to New York, in my opinion, can be the best of the best anywhere. Anywhere in the world, we can go anywhere and be best of the best. Here, we're all just striving to be mediocre. I mean, this city gaslights you as soon as you enter. Whether you land the plane and you hear those honks and you see those red lights, it gives us a nice sigh of relief because we know we can get whatever we want at any time at whatever level of quality that you want. And the more money you make, the more the city opens up to you for both the good and the bad. It will show you who you are. It's like kind of like Lord of the Flies. Now, what's also great about that is that we also make a lot more money.
I happen to agree with you, but keep going.
The expenses are very high, so it balances out. And it makes no financial sense for anybody. You talk about, people are moving to Florida, this or that, or it's like there's billionaires here. It never made financial sense for us to live here. However, that driving force, that competitive spirit, that always-on mentality, and the fact that I can get a Michelin-starred restaurant at 1 a.m. because I was hungry and I stayed at an event too long, that immediacy that we get from both communicating with other people and just access cannot be replaced. Plus, every conversation that we have with people, rarely do I get into a political argument or religious argument. Everybody's mostly informed in my day-to-day conversations because they're either communicating with everybody that went to some Ivy League school or a state school or no school, but we all have to elevate to that same level in order to coexist. So when you have that, our job, and I would say most people are informed, we need to over-educate to teach people the good, the bad, and the ugly so that they can make a choice versus a reaction. And if you can make a choice versus a reaction, it really sets people at ease because they feel like they're in on it. Otherwise, they're stuck in fight or flight and feel like a wild animal backed into a corner.
All right, without beating technology to death, okay, we all know that technology is probably the greatest advancement in the changing of our roles here. We didn't have it the way we have it today, social media, AI, I can go on and on and on. But there are still some people, pockets of agents out there, whether they're buyer's agents, seller's agents, clients, that really have not adopted technology the way or as fast as it's moving. Does that set these people back as agents in particular, or does it not? I mean,
It depends. I mean, at Elgren, we have a number of agents who are more old school. And I would say to the extent that they have their Rolodex, their set of clients that are coming back to them time and time again, it doesn't set them back whatsoever. We've been able to adjust, right? Because just as the agent has to adjust, truthfully, the brokerage firm must adjust to how they support the agents. And, we've done an incredible job at taking away all of the extraneous stuff of being an agent so you can focus on being that advisor to your client. So it's all about how do you make sure that you have the right ecosystem around you so that you can do what you do best, which is being human, being an advisor, being a therapist to your clients and helping them achieve their goals. And the rest of it will take care of it, or they'll be able to figure out how to outsource it.
in addition to technology, Anna, a lot of what we do is marketing, okay? And I remember our manager at the time used to say, actually when I was hired, you're not a salesperson, you're marketing. Nobody sells apartments, they sell themselves. And I first looked at him and thought, he's out of his mind, okay? But he was right. He was 100% right. We market our apartments in many, many ways. So how has marketing, or how we approach our marketing strategies, changed with the agent population from what we remember in the past to where we are today?
Well, of course, social media is a big part of it, which we didn't have before.
Correct.
And now all of these aggregators, whether it's StreetEasy, Zillow, Trulia, you name it, you have to be everywhere. Before, you just put the listing in the system and it went out to the other brokers and you were done. Now you have to be constantly marketing that listing, marketing yourself. So we're marketing our properties. We're also marketing ourselves. So we are marketers. We're really not salespeople. I agree. It's not a great term, salesperson.
We're not. We're marketing people, and we have to market our properties properly in order to get the agents out there interested enough to bring their clients, or the direct clients out there who are looking at your marketing, to come and see your listing.
And we have to be consistent is the other thing. Before, you just did
Well, that's
your
what I'm
steps,
kind of getting at, consistency.
Here now, in some ways, you think, oh, now I have to post 5 times a day on every site, and I have to do my newsletter, and I have to do, X, Y, and Z. Before, we just went out and showed property. But it is a lot more exciting. We go on podcasts. We speak at conferences. We attend conferences. It's just a much more dynamic career than it was before.
To continue the football metaphor, real estate is a contact sport, right? It's all about
only
who
if
you
it's
know.
a Kansas City Chiefs. Okay.
But it's all about making those connections. You can only be...
I'm not hurrying.
You're only able to be an advisor after you've already assembled the necessary context on both sides of the trade.
Right. All right.
Sure.
I'm going to just say one quote that Mike Staver, who's a speaker, he's a motivational
I just
speaker.
was thinking about him.
And his saying is that treatment without diagnosis is malpractice. So what we're doing day in and day out is we are making that diagnosis. Clients, they don't know themselves what they want. But we have to ask a million questions, sit down with them as human beings, not present, not say that we're the best, just listen to them and hear what they need, and then we can diagnose and treat.
And it's the idea of always being in the mode of attraction instead of promotion, and that's attracting through generosity, through can-do, being the solution, time in, and those are the things that go back to the secrets of success, which is that generous spirit, because there's enough for everybody.
Agreed, and abundance. And that's what we're afraid of technology. Oh, it's going to take our jobs. But I disagree.
No.
It's the abundance of the information. The more information that's out there, the more we can advise, the more we can guide. And there was the pre-StreetEasy and post-StreetEasy. I agree. At first, we said, oh my goodness, they're going to have all the information at their fingertips. Now that information is corroded. You try calling an agent on StreetEasy, you're getting somebody who's never seen the property, maybe never made a sale. It's bait and switch. We couldn't do that in our day. That was against the law.
But the other really fun thing about what Jared said about the brokers, the old school brokers, is that we all have these soft skills that the newer agents don't. Because at at the time, like
Well,
when you were,
you can go back and compare to what it used to be to what we are doing today.
and that's why people are always going to come to those clients or to those agents, because they have those soft skills, and the ones that are always out there promoting might not have those soft skills to really diagnose or really understand what they are. And what is great about the consumer now and why they do need agents more is because when, as you were describing the Lazy Susan and the DOS, I mean, your one distraction was like a Tamagotchi. That was the only technology that you had. Now, everybody's looking on StreetEasy, but they're also playing on 30 other apps. They're in text message chains on WhatsApp, TikTok, Instagram, their own text message. Then their mom calls them and they're trying to avoid. Everything happens, and they're so distracted that they also need us as a through line with all of that access to lead them and quiet the noise.
I feel like with the more technology, the more they need us.
Absolutely.
Because they want that personal touch.
Yep.
Well, that's what I was going to get at. So, Jared, you manage a lot of agents, and so what Daniel was just saying, the difference between the older generation who have the background and the experience and the wherewithal to handle pretty much everything. Yes, we're growing into technology. It's been a while, so we're there. I'm going to say for most of us, but these newer agents, how they don't have that, background or that starter that we all had. How are they adapting to dealing with certain people who want that extra hand-holding, or they don't necessarily want to engage from a digital perspective regularly? I mean, I call my clients. I don't text them. But these people today don't do that. I mean, everything is text, text, text. Now, certain age groups don't even use text. Okay, that in itself is a problem. But some don't, or they don't want to. How are the younger agents adapting to what we used to do? They're all part of the newness today, but they don't know the oldness.
Right.
Is that affecting them at all?
So it depends on who their clients are. Because if their clients are the younger generation, truthfully, the younger generation doesn't want to receive a phone call either necessarily.
Right.
Now, I can argue till I'm blue in the face that you can't conduct an effective real estate transaction over an app and that you have to get face-to-face. And that's a constant struggle, is pick up the phone and call your clients. So some of them, if they're not aligned or there's a mismatch between who the agent is and who their clients are and their mode of communication, that's ineffective. One of the things I always teach my agents is early on in the conversation, ask your client, what is your preferred method of communication? Right?
Idea.
For sure.
And use that, with the exception of 4 key things that should always be done over the phone, right? I need to broach an issue with you. We need to discuss an offer or a counter. We need to discuss some financials, or we have to course correct, right? If one of those 4 things come up, do not send it over a text. Use text only to set up that phone call, and never pre-qualify or pre-vet someone over text. If someone won't invest the time with you for them to buy or spend a lot of money, they're not worth your time, right? So it's really important to align, your preferences with their preferences and adapt, but hold to those 4 things that must be done on the phone.
And that's sort of what I was getting at. So, for example, we all get the StreetEasy emails in the middle of the night. Everybody's supposed to be sleeping or working at 2
1
o'clock in
a.m.
the morning, 1 a.m., whatever. You get all these.
I was
StreetEasy.
working last night at 1:40.
Well, there you go. Okay.
You got a lot of StreetEasy emails.
Bottom line is, if you want to call them to discuss the listing of yours that they send you an email on, they don't answer the phone.
Right.
If you email them back and you give them an answer that maybe they're not looking for or that they don't agree with, they're not going to answer you
Or
back.
you've given them all the information they wanted, so they have no reason to call you back.
Exactly. So point then again is, something I believe is missing, very seriously missing,
I also,
with relationship,
Yeah,
back and forth
but I
with a
also
customer.
think, again, my position is going above and beyond and being generous with the knowledge, and that I'm here, my cell phone is. And if I can support you, we're going to be there Tuesday, Thursday, and tonight. And, in responding to an inquiry. But I also think that, I've had people come to me that have just like, you're the only broker that's returned my phone call and, not been down my throat.
Correct.
Because there is a balance, and again, I'm going to say attraction over promotion.
And that every agent's not going to be the right agent for every client.
No.
Right.
Totally. There's a shoe that fits all.
And this goes back to understanding who you are and how you want to operate. So I love the fact you can promote all you want, but you need to promote yourself in the way that's going to attract the right type of clients. If
Totally.
you're putting out a promotion that's not getting you the people that you want, you're doing it wrong and you need to change.
It's also that authenticity and just being
Exactly.
exactly who you are. I'm a lot for a lot of people, but it's okay, and I'm here if you have any questions. Like when I lose business to a great broker, I am excited that I was just in the room with a person I respect, I admire, because my standards are here.
Well, but again, I agree with you, and that's I think the old way of doing things. You have respect for your colleagues, you understand what's happening, whatever, and you're not allowed for a lot of people.
Yep.
We love you.
Just for some. We love our Wheezy. Okay. By the way, social media. Okay, let's dig into that just a little bit, because all of us here are present on social media. We all follow everybody. There's good out there, there's bad out there, there's redundancy out there, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there. Do you really feel that social media is helping us in the new way that the role of agent has changed? Do you really feel that social media is helping us as agents, A, find new business, continue our existing business, or just promoting ourselves out there in a way that, hey, look at me, I'm a real estate agent, I do this for a living, so if you have any need that you want out there for real estate, contact me. Anna.
I think that social media will overtake probably all other marketing in the future.
Interesting. Okay.
I remember years ago, I'd say, I did a deal or 2 deals last year through social media where somebody just found me on social media. And now it's constant. So every agent has to be very active. And the client can also see who you are.
Yep.
So you really can show yourself. You can be authentic. And no matter what we do, we're all looking everybody up on Instagram. We go to a store, we look the
absolutely.
store up. So
course.
it's the same. It's the due diligence. They can see you're a real person. You have a real following. You've been in the business for a very long time. They're entrusting you with their most important decision of their life. And
you're not just promoting real estate. You are a holistic individual.
Oh, thank you.
In what that digital print is, because I might not, you might not want to work with somebody that is just real estate.
Oh.
Who are you as a person?
well, that's why I keep my account as one. I know a lot of people keep 2 accounts, and sometimes I wonder if that's a good decision, because you do want to put your personal stuff out there, but then you don't want people to think you're not serious. So it's a fine line, but that's the fun of it. We're managing that ourselves, and we're able to present ourselves as we wish, both business and personal.
And I've said for years, because I've had multiple experiences, that people, like you said before, they'll Instagram you. In the past, they used to Google you, right? Before you even showed up to talk to them
before
about
Google.
a listing. Yahoo. But they used to Google us to find out, who's this guy coming to talk to me about my listing? I mean, I heard about him, I referred to him or whatever, or he sold in the building before, but they didn't know anything about us. Now, of course, with social media, they do that. I have found, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I kind of have laid back on the property postings on my real estate business, and I do, I'll put market reports out there, which I did, I think, yesterday or the day before, and I'll put more about me or who I am personally, because what I'm finding
Your
is maybe
cooking
there's
skills.
now thank you, there's way too much advertising on the real estate side, but that's just me. I don't know if it's a fact, if it's not a fact, but I'm finding I'm getting a lot more responses by just showing people who I am.
Well, that's what they want to see.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
that's
And you're
what they wanna
fabulous.
see.
I can have 62 likes on an amazing space, but if I'm telling a story about meeting my husband on a blind date, I will literally have 1,450.
Yeah, because we're known people. People know who we are. I always say this business is akin to being a show person, right? A show business in Hollywood. Everybody knows who you are. For a very small community, right? So they want to know who you are. They want to see who you are. What do you guys think about too much real estate on social media? Not enough.
I think it really goes into posting things that are in alignment with yourself. Like if you're sharing something that is personal, as Anna had said, you're never going to, you know yourself so well that you're never going to step outside of that line and show something that's not in alignment with who you are, that a client's going to say, really? I'm not going to work with you because of that. Well, if they weren't going to work with you because of who you are, they weren't going to work with you anyway, and then they might agree with somebody else, because there is always that shoe. And it is, people want to see vulnerability. And the more starved people are for some connection, some vulnerability, some communication, I think the more that we really need to show who we are as individuals.
Absolutely.
We also have an insane access to the way that New York City changes. I mean, I'm on my feet. My average steps per day are 12,000 steps. And that's just walking. That doesn't track the gym or
You're not
anything
telling me
else.
12,000 steps. What's wrong with you?
I know, right?
I did that
But-
on a Sunday in one building.
Yeah,
Just to be clear.
that's it. If you're working new development, like you are doing that. I did
that,
20,000 steps this past Sunday. The amount that we see on the street of like, stop, oh, here's a new restaurant. What happened here? We can show that and show access, and our neighborhoods change so much every year.
Yeah.
That I tell people that if you have an opinion about a neighborhood from over a year ago, your opinion's no longer valid. Do not listen to your friends.
100%. A
So-
year ago
On
is
that
is,
note.
is a
Yeah.
lifetime.
It's like we
Right.
have that.
Right.
So, balance is key, right? Real estate has a place, but so does your personal life. I mean, my social is all about, sure, listings and stuff going on, but it's also about my kids. And
Yeah, but you balance really well.
it's
though.
all about balance. But what's really important, social media is one of an array of client acquisition tools, right? But I would argue that social media is the number one, other than picking up the phone, the number one client retention tool, right? Because you're going to use it as a way where you're going to start following your clients are going to start following you. So during the transaction, it's something to help keep them sticky. And post-transaction, it's always that reminder, right? It's not about sending that postcard or things like that, but social media is the number one client retention tool and something that will help promote you to do repeat business. And that's why I think it's so important.
I'm going to come back in a few minutes. We've got to take a break. You are listening to Talking New York Real Estate on the More Network. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
This beautiful set here at Studio 1873 is brought to you by the Everset. The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
Everybody, we are back. So, social media is one thing, marketing is another thing. We all, as agents, need to stay informed. We got to keep up with marketing trends. Trends are moving quickly. Data is moving quickly. I've never looked at more data, in my life that every day, because you need to have that information when people ask you what's happening out there. So, how do you all keep up with the fast-moving data and trends that we need to keep up with?
Of course, we're looking at the data, whether it's Urban Digs, The Real Deal, what Brown Harris Stevens puts out for us, our
Love
chief
Urban
economist Greg Heim, who's right next door in his office, our appraiser, Michael Vargas, who's always available to help us.
Just on the show last week.
And I believe that what was in the media, what was on the news a week ago is no longer what's happening today.
Totally.
We got home from Vegas just a few days ago. The market shifted, I think even while we were in Vegas. Properties that sat on the market for 6 months all have multiple bids.
I did 8 contracts this week.
Multiple bids right now are the thing happening. I will agree with that. That's all I've been reading or hearing about and hearing from colleagues in the last week.
And just to be clear, that's also was what we've all been predicting. Because
Exactly.
when
But
there's
right.
only so
That's the
long,
thing.
people are not going to make decisions
Correct.
with their life.
They have to
But
move.
I will just say that, when you operate and you have the structure of your day or your week put together, I mean, we have a goal within my team that we take 8 customers out every single week. We have, however many listings we have, but we are always in a data-driven mode of information through gathering by pounding the payments with our clients to purchase, but also when we do our pitches, it is hours of work of not just active contract signed, sold, and closed. It's actually what is that in contract for? And that is an opportunity to have such a deep dive. I mean, that's what I did till 1:40 in the morning. I had 4 pitches to put out. And I can tell you everything you need to know about the East Village today. So anyway, that's sort of the way that I operate in not only the news, but that data-driven vertical of every interaction with my clients.
Sticking with data for a minute before we move on, Jared, according to your report that you author every week at Elegran, 409 new listings in Manhattan alone, 196 in Brooklyn. To the listener or the viewer out there, that sounds like a lot, but
where are they?
Yes.
But where are they? And in the past, you might have had 1,500, correct? So it's encouraging. It's a tick up. Bidding wars seem to be, the flavor of the conversation the last week, at least with my colleagues. But 409 and 196. I mean, what does that represent?
Yeah, so I'm the data nerd in the room. I
you
pull
are.
from our friends at Urban Digs and Market Proof, and I put my own spin on it. In fact, my market predictions for the spring were just published in the Manor Report in the March issue, and I'll give you the last one because it's really the most important one. Is the FOMO effect is going to kick in soon. And this goes to what Vince just said, is as soon as consumers, and we're starting this next pendulum swing, and Louise, you mentioned, the average holding period in the city is like 3 to 5 years, right? 5 to 7 if it's a co-op. So we're now 2 years into this interest rate hike, and people are getting itchy. People are going to want to move. And as soon as you see this increase in demand, you're going to have this, holy crap, I should have done it, and this FOMO effect that's going to create that bandwagon. So, supply has ticked up a little bit in terms of the weekly new to market, but net you have a deficit in supply because more
For
things are
10
coming
years,
off
we're
or
gonna have
going
that.
into contracts. So we're anchored on a 4-year low in supply. What that means is the market is feeling more competitive than ever. So naturally, you're going to have the low-hanging fruit, that inventory that's been sitting on the market, the inventory that's had multiple price drops, the inventory that's unrenovated get picked off first. And as soon as that spread closes between that and the fresh stuff that's priced accurately, you're going to see prices increase.
The good news also is 2,490 units went into contract this week, right? Or pending sales.
right.
Right?
Yes, take out a zero from the in-contract, but yeah.
249.
Yes, sorry, yes, 249 went into contract and about just under 2,500 pending, correct.
Okay, well
Yeah.
that's a lot. 2,500 pending is a lot.
Correct.
So again, the FOMO effect, I totally agree with. The first things that will go into contract or people will snap up are the ones that have been listed out there for a while, because maybe there's some negotiation, maybe there's some change in pricing. Who knows? We all know that buyers are looking for a deal, whatever a deal. I love that word. I'm looking for a deal. What do you mean by that? What is a deal? Okay.
We did.
You want a price cut? That's
We
what you want.
did in since January 15th to current. I have done 1.5 times what I did the whole fourth quarter.
1.5. Okay.
So we just did 8 this
fourth
week.
quarter was.
So I'm just saying that the volume is picking back to a more of a normality, normal market than what we've experienced, because it was 40% below volume transactions.
We're going to talk about a presidential election a year coming up and how that may affect things later, but go ahead.
Say there are so many deals out there, but the narrative is that nobody's buying, the interest rates are too high.
Not true.
Everybody wants a deal, but they wouldn't notice a deal if it punched them in the face. I mean, I had a listing where when the market was...
That's why we're advisors.
I know,
and
right?
We're telling them.
When I had a listing when the market was jumping up in 2021, we ended up getting $2.7 million for it. Now I had it on the market for 2.25 and was begging people to pay 2.2.
Yeah.
It's a 2.5 to 2.6 million dollar apartment all day long.
Yeah.
But because it was on the market, people are saying, "Oh, well, what's wrong with it?" There's always something wrong. It's like, no, it's purely just market conditions.
Market moments.
And everybody being afraid. But the interest rates, it's such a minor detail. They're not at 6.5. You're really in the high 5s to maybe 6. And then if you amortize what the saving or what the extra cost is between 4.5 and a 6% interest rate versus the amount of money that you're saving on that purchase price, it would take you years to make up the difference in what you will pay on that higher price of a 4.5% interest rate when everybody jumps in versus the deal that you get at a 6%.
To add to that, the amount of money that the banks are paying you for the money sitting in your account was 30 basis points when they were 3%. And now you're getting 4.5, so the spread is narrowed even more.
And we've been saying this till we're blue in the face, exactly what you said, Daniel. I've been saying that to my buyers for 1.5 years. And there's going to be a moment when that changes, and we thought that would be when the interest rate came down, which is expected, let's say, in June. But it's in anticipation of that, it's already happened. It's too late. All those people that we gave all those arguments to who did not pull the trigger are now in a multiple bid situation with interest rates about to decrease, inventory at an all-time low. They were in a much better position had they listened to our advice.
Say it again, Sam.
And this
Okay,
is
isn't that a
why
fact?
consumers are 6 months behind at minimum what's going on, right? So the peak buyer leverage window was January, early February. It's pretty much gone now, and the leverage has shifted back
Even the
towards
end
sellers.
of December.
Yep.
Yeah.
And why? It's because any tick down in interest rates, and we talked about this, Vince, last time I was on, but it holds true today as much as any other time. As rates tick down, it's going to bring people off the sidelines who are not already in the market,
Yep,
right? Renters,
totally.
first-time buyers. It's not until rates tick down another 100 to 150 basis points, you're going to have a corresponding increase in inventory who may also very well be buyers. But what's going to happen right now, and when we talked about the numbers, you're going to have more demand against a dwindling supply. You're going to pay the premium right now.
And I mean, you can see
Absolutely.
the starting of just looking at certain niches of the market in West Village. We did 3-4 transactions of townhouses, and I'm talking north of $10 million. In less than 20 days, they were 18 transactions just in the West Village.
Well, you heard at
Just
the top
in the
of the
West
show,
Village.
they're offering the
And
deepest
every-
discounts.
And we, I know, but
Or
I'm just
discounts.
Relative,
Say
yeah.
relative.
well, but that being said, we had a strategy at 70 Perry where we priced it at 9.4 and it went for 11.4.
Well, that too.
So it was but we had 38.
Under that psychological barrier.
Yeah,
Yep.
and everybody was like, "What's wrong with it?" And it's like the best block in
Right.
the West Village, and
Indeed
we
it
had
is.
8 offers. So I think it's also a strategy for people to be partnering with their owners about how to create a sense of urgency that is already started and bubbling.
Absolutely. All right, so we talked about how agents are changing due to technology, fast-moving technology, social media, AI, marketing trends, how to keep up with data and be more informed so you can speak to your clients more intelligently. Lastly, what do the clients out there, the customers, the buyers and the sellers, the renters, the landlords, what are they expecting from us in this new world of real estate?
Everything.
Everything.
Yep, well,
Everything.
Correct.
I mean, listen, I have.
that
I think
has not changed.
I
by the
have
way.
like
Okay.
11 godchildren from my clients. I met my husband on a blind date from my client. So I've had clients live with me while their townhouses were being renovated. So I think full service is an understatement. but I also think that you have to love what you're doing. It just can't be work. And
Oh, God, no.
and that
I've never called this
that
word ever.
It's a lifestyle.
it is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So
It's what I do. People say, it's what I do.
yeah.
And it's 24/7, and that's what they expect. They expect us to be available.
It's 28/7.
28/7, 28/8. They expect us to be very clear communicators because we're very often dealing with very sensitive topics. Their finances. You can have a 20 million liquid buyer who is being asked, well, what are your expenses every month? They look at you like you have four heads. You know, they could buy anywhere in the world and not be asked about their money and how they spend it. But here we want to know what else they're paying, what are the mortgages there are.
They have
in
no
some
idea.
ways, but I believe we're all throughout the country insulated and we will always be needed as advisors, but we're particularly so with co-ops.
I will tell you one of the biggest things that make me laugh, sometimes frustrated, but it makes me laugh though, is because it's so consistent when you're taking a listing and you ask, you send the listing agreement and you ask the seller, what is your monthly maintenance or common charge?
They have no idea.
If it's a condo. No idea. Oh, I don't know. It comes out of my bank statement every month. I have no idea. Well, can you look? By the time you get it, and I think, okay, one of them just recently. Well, it's a lot of money. I said, I know it's a lot of money, and you have no idea what it is coming out of your bank account every month, but no idea. Okay, must be nice. Okay, must be nice. So I call managing agent because I ain't gonna wait for them to give it to me. Ain't gonna happen. All right, Jared. Last question of the morning. How are brokerages now changing, or how do they need to change to meet the needs of the new agent? Profile.
So delegate and elevate, right? It's not about doing everything. It's about ensuring that the agent can do what they do right. And at Elgren, we talk about our goal is very simple, to humanize the world of real estate. So we use technology, we use information, we use resources to make our agents smarter and more available and more ready and present with their clients. So how do we solve, and we talk about being your operational partner, your human partner, your financial partner, and through our association with Forbes, your global partner, and what does that unlock for you as the agent? So the firms need to be able to support their clients, and we look at our agents as our clients to be able to ensure that they can deliver what they need to be and be able to be everything for who they are. So it's all about, and this is why you see the rise of the teams, it's because they're solving for things that may not be provided for them otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. And some of the strategies I have found to keep our success out there with our changing, world is building a strong network. And a lot of people still say to me, well, I don't really know how to do that. And I think it's imperative to build a strong network, leverage technology, as we've been talking about, specialize and differentiate. I remember when I first became an agent, one of our colleagues on Diva Lane said to me, you need to maybe find a niche market that you can be better than all of us in or anybody else in the sales office. And I thought, well, that's a big thing. How do you do that?
I was like the one-bedroom queen. I mean, I used to literally walk up and down because I had no listings and I had no contacts. I would walk with the select registry, the floor plans of every Riverside Drive, every West End Avenue, and I figured out what the 7 rooms are, the 6 rooms, so that if somebody ever asked me, I knew it. So
Well, I mean, that's the thing. So I chose new development sales, and then I fell into it, because I focused on this is what I have decided my niche should be because all the experts are telling me find a niche. And
That was smart.
Well, and how
It
many
took
years
off.
later I still do the same thing.
But it takes a village, right? You can't do it on your own. You need that
village.
support system. The same thing, I have 2 young kids, the same thing raising a family. This business is no different than your home life. So you have to make sure you're surrounded by the right attorneys, the right, bankers, the right everything to assemble your dream team. So, brokers and your co-brokers are no different from that.
And remembering that we are in the service business, okay? So providing exceptional service. Stay informed, stay educated, because the more informed and educated we are, we can, impart that wisdom on our clients. Invest in marketing and branding. People say to me, well, I don't even understand. I teach social media and continuing ed, and sometimes when I start social media always with, so what is your brand or who are you? And people look at me with these dead stares like, I know who I am. What do you mean? Who am I? Right. Who are you? You don't know who you are.
I think that's the ultimate question in that right now, with all of the noise, people actually don't know who they are. They have an idea of who they are, but they haven't faced any adversity in a very long time.
Who they are.
They don't know.
So at the end of my class, they do.
That's
Maybe.
Well, you are an amazing asset, which goes back to like really the firm. And when you're aligning with a firm, we don't necessarily need a firm anymore. The market has shifted. We don't need that. We heard how it used to be when the firm really mattered. But at the same time, it also matters.
It does matter.
So much. Yeah. And it is, who are you aligning yourself with? Who is going to be in your office? Because as they say, that's the village. Your office, who you work with, is the village that you're creating, because you learn so much nuance
100%.
from those people. You learn what they're doing with marketing, because the people that are at the top of this business, we know it's lonely. For one, nobody asks us questions. But 2, we're also very giving and willing to share because we know that they can't do what we do anyway. So we'll give it to you. Please take it. Do it. Do something.
Correct. Brand yourself, people. This is what I say. Find out who you are and then find a brand that works. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, this show has certainly helped brand me. Offer value-added services, okay? We have lots to offer, okay? Just do it. Build trust and credibility. How many of the newer agents, I walk around sometimes and I hear them speaking or I bump into them in showings, and I think to myself sometimes, would I trust that person? Would I have credibility in that person? And my answer always is no, absolutely not. It
not
is
always.
so important. Not always. I said sometimes. And focus on long-term relationships. This is a relationship business. This is what we do. This is what I do. I don't have a job. This is what I do, right? And clients hopefully respond. And lastly, it's just have fun. Okay?
And it is so much fun.
It is so much fun. It's the best thing I've ever done, and I don't want to tell you how many years I'm working, but the best thing I've ever done. It is a lot of fun. So if you can't have fun, you're in the wrong business.
Go home.
Go home. We're coming right back with my thoughts for the week. Don't go anywhere. All right, everybody, we are back with my thoughts for the week. For real estate agents navigating the shifting landscape of their profession, adapting to changing roles is essential for sustained success. First, embrace technology as a fundamental tool rather than a mere supplement. Utilize digital platforms for marketing, virtual tours, and client communication to enhance efficiency and reach. Second, specialize and excel in either representing buyers or sellers, leveraging expertise to provide tailored services and deepen client relationships. Third, prioritize customer experience by offering personalized guidance, transparency, and support throughout the transaction process. Stay informed about regulatory changes and market trends, ensuring compliance and agility in strategy. continuously invest in learning and skill development to stay ahead in a competitive market, because ultimately, by embracing these shifts and proactively adjusting your approach, real estate agents can thrive and provide exceptional value in today's dynamic real estate landscape. And that's our broadcast for today. Thanks to my guests for being here on set with me. You can follow me on Facebook, Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok at Vince Rocco, or my website, thinkvince.com. Norman Vincent Peale said, "Shoot for the moon, everyone. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars." And to all of you around the world, and to all of us here at Talking New York Real Estate, thank you again for spending a part of your day with us. I'm grateful, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.